Neltzi, I'm Ryan, Sunat Sna. Ryan is my name. I'm from Behavioral Health. I'm here today with Brad from Brief Therapy Works in Seattle, and we're going to practice a mindful minute, and then we're going to go into an exercise facilitated by Brad. So right now I invite you to join me in 1 minute of mindful breathing. Breathe however is comfortable for you. During this time, I invite you to really focus on the sensation of breathing. Is your chest or stomach going in and out, rising or falling? Can you feel the air rush through your nose or mouth? Is it warm or cool, dry or moist? Really focus on the sensation of breathing. Because we're all human beings, during this exercise, we will have thoughts pop up into our minds. Over the next minute, you could have one thought or 1 million thoughts. Just remember, thoughts aren't something to try to control or try to get rid of, but something that you can accept. You can say to yourself, hey, I'm a human being, and return your focus to your breathing. You can choose to see your thought as a leaf floating down a stream or as a cloud floating away in the sky. The important thing is that once you notice that thought, you return the focus to the sensation of breathing. During this exercise, you can keep your eyes open. If you keep your eyes open, please focus on one object so that you're not distracted. Otherwise, you can keep your eyes closed. Go ahead and start the timer, starting now for 1 minute. All right, guys, that was 1 minute of mindful breathings. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to hand it over to Brad Galvin from Brief Therapy Works in Seattle. Used to be out at Lummi. Really trust him, respect him as a therapist to bring us some good work today. So here you go, Brad.
Thank you, Ryan. It was so nice to just sit. It's always nice when I can get myself to just slow down, even if it's just for a minute. You know, there was a meditation from a book that I read, and the practice was to try to meditate for 1 minute out of every hour. And I've had chunks where I've been able to do that, chunks of days. But it's really a remarkable practice. So it doesn't take a ton of time to just kind of settle things. I think of sort of like our lives and our brains are like snow globes and everything's floating around. And when we finally stop, it just slowly settles to the bottom. So thank you for that opportunity. And it's great to be here. I've loved staying connected with my people at Lummi Behavioral Health. And I was really glad when you reached out that this worked out to do this today. So let's get into it. So before we start our first exercise, if everyone can take a moment to grab a piece of paper and a pen, and there you go. And you'll need that in a little bit. And also, I just want to mention briefly that although I am a therapist, this isn't therapy and it doesn't create a therapist-client relationship with me. That said, Ryan and I are happy to refer you to a therapist after the session if you would like. So feel free to reach out in whatever way electronically, and we can connect you. As you know, if you're a tribal member on the Lummi Reservation, you can reach out for those services. And but we're happy to connect you regardless. So I'm calling this exercise "Let's Get Real About COVID," and the inspiration for this came from an experience I had about a week into the shelter-in-place order. So like many of you, I'm a professional cheerleader, which means I encourage clients, and my job is to instill hope. And so I know for a lot of us as parents, as partners, you know, we really kind of play that role of trying to be strong and trying to be positive. And I really found that I was frustrated with myself because I was struggling to think positively, to see to see this time as a gift, and to embrace the uncertainty and this idea that I was somehow supposed to be more productive than ever. And I just wasn't feeling the silver lining. And I was super annoyed actually with others who seemed to be cheerfully going about their lives and adapting better than ever. It's like they went straight to the silver lining, and I just wasn't there. And I was negatively comparing myself to others who seemed to be unfazed by the turn of events. And so I was sitting upstairs in my favorite rocking chair, and I decided to do an experiment. And so as I rocked back and forth, I wrote down all of the ways that this COVID situation just sucked. And my list included everything from 80% of my income is now gone to my high school reunion is canceled. And that really sucked for me because I'm the one who picked out our venue. I'm on the planning committee. And also that my April and May presentations were postponed. So I had a couple really exciting things coming up that were postponed, one of them indefinitely. And my list continued, stuck at home and I can't travel. I can't eat at restaurants. I was on a roll with my new business, et cetera, et cetera. So I wasn't sure what the outcome of these writings would be, but I felt it was worth a try just to do something to try to shift my mood, because by this time I had been really in quite a rut. So to my relief, I actually found comfort in naming my experience in all its detail and just allowing myself to feel my feelings about it. So for me, it was mostly grief, sadness, and a fair amount of anger, which I think really was fear disguised as anger. And so I found that doing this allowed me to get to the other side of these feelings. And it turned out that I couldn't see the silver lining until I fully acknowledged the cloud it was attached to. So that was an important piece for me. And I rocked while I did it because I find rocking soothing, and I always have throughout my life. I figured that moving the body while I wrote things that bothered me would help me to get through it, and it did. So rocking engages the body in a way that's similar to something called bilateral stimulation, which is a key component of the EMDR therapy that I practice. So bilateral stimulation means doing something to both sides of the body, such as tapping on the arms or the legs, right, left, right, left. And so what makes bilateral stimulation so powerful is it lights up both the left and the right sides of our brains. So it activates the part of our brains related to our physical bodies, to our memories, and to our thoughts and emotions. So what's cool about bilateral stimulation is it's hypothesized to be hardwired in us as humans. So we were soothed in the womb by the rhythm of our mother's walking, her breathing, her heartbeat. And it's so effective as an agent of healing that it's often referred to as a therapy power tool. And this by people who are experts in the field who do this a lot, and they've experienced it. And I've certainly had that experience with folks as well. So today, you're going to create your own list of things that are difficult about the COVID situation while doing a simple form of bilateral stimulation called walking in. And the purpose of adding this is to engage your body's natural healing ability while acknowledging what has been lost to help you to get to the other side of it. So while we're doing this, we want to really kind of be processing, and that's what the bilateral stimulation helps us to do. Okay, so let's practice walking in. So walking in is a form of bilateral stimulation. And so first, you put your feet flat on the floor and you lift your right heel and drop it, keeping your toes on the floor. Now, lift your left heel and drop it. And now your right heel, your left heel, your right heel, and do this right, left, right, about 1 per second. And keep doing this a few more times to get a feel for it. And you'll notice that I'm rocking a little bit because I'm doing this as well. And I'm going to be doing this to support you and connect with you while you do this exercise. Okay, so grab a piece of paper and write down everything that's difficult, challenging, depressing, or upsetting about this time. Write freely without censoring it. Let it all out. You will have an opportunity to share some of this afterwards if you would like. So Ryan's going to share a little bit about his experience, but this is optional. And this is something that you might choose to share later with a friend, a loved one, or your therapist. But again, this exercise is for you. So write it in a way where you know that only you are going to be seeing it unless you decide to share it with someone else. So this is meant for you. So as you are writing, I'd like for you to lift and drop your heels continuously, alternating left, right, left, right. So at about that pace, about 1 per second. It may seem a little odd, but if you can suspend your disbelief and give it a try, you might find it beneficial. So go ahead and walk it in as you brainstorm, writing down everything that COVID-19 has cost you personally, professionally, socially, financially, in whatever ways you can imagine. We'll take a few minutes to do this now. So we'll finish up for now. So just take a few moments to finish up your thoughts. And if you have more to write, you may return to it after our session, just the way you have done here, walking it in while you write. Okay. So, Ryan, what did you notice?
The first thing I noticed as I started writing um, was stuff that seemed like earlier seemed pretty frustrating. As I was writing it down, I was like, well, this really isn't the end of the world. This isn't that bad. Like, I can handle this. I can deal with that. So, um, I guess some stuff that have in the past or right now, like the thoughts that are coming up as sources of worry or frustration, just sort of don't seem that bad. And I just noticed that some stuff that were like really a big worry, I didn't even write down.
Hmm.
So it didn't even come up as a big issue at the moment. Like
Wow.
as if I'd completely forgot about it. And I was really, I found myself really trying to search for things that I was worried about or anxious about or uncomfortable about. And I really uh, felt kind of peaceful. Just spent a lot of the time just sort of looking again at the list and yeah, just a bunch of
Wow.
words on a piece of paper, nothing to really fear right now, you know. I'm sure later they'll pop up as thoughts do and worry and anxiety, but for now it's just a bunch of words on a piece of paper.
Wow. Well, that's really interesting. It's funny you covered a couple areas that I like to check in with people about, both the emotions and any parts that were surprising. And it seemed like once as you were doing that and you were engaged with it, the things that came up weren't necessarily what you would have expected would come up, and that there was sort of a distance between you and those issues. And so that was interesting for me to hear that. Yeah, there was some comfort in doing it for you.
Yeah, it almost, I think writing it down sort of made it tangible. Like once I looked at it, because I finished fairly quickly, I probably have 20 things on the list, but then I almost feel like, oh, it's just, it's not like some thought, which, you know, could be huge or tiny or keep me up at night. It's just words on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, it was really very similar for me. I think it was, I was just so relieved to write everything down. I think for me, I just didn't feel so crazy. I was starting to feel kind of crazy. Like, why am I in a bad mood about this? I mean, yeah, okay, you've lost this and you've lost that and things are changed, but you're an adult. You should just kind of be able to deal with it. And I think for me, just writing it all down, I didn't feel crazy anymore. And it, for me, like you, it created a little bit of a distance, like, oh, there are these things and I'm here. I am not these problems that I'm facing. I have some distance from them. um, so there was some relief from that, definitely. It's interesting, you know. So what I want to do, is there any, well, first of all, I want to ask, is there anything else about your experience that you want to share that you think might be helpful? Or
No, I don't think so. I do a lot of mindfulness, but I do very little of the bilateral stimulation, sort of lifting and dropping my heels alternately. I've done a little bit of it, but that almost seems to be sort of a subconscious grounding tool for me. I was pretty calm writing this list. Even some of the thoughts that I would try to avoid or try to get rid of, or like I said, maybe losing sleep about something as I was doing it, they just sort of float out and then they're just sitting there on a piece of paper. Um, so yeah.
well, that's wonderful. That's great. It's great to have that experience. And, you know, I just, for those of you who are watching this video, working on this yourself, I just want to encourage you to be open to any experience. You know, you might have feelings of grief. You might feel a little bit worse afterwards. I think there's a real value in sharing this with someone, even the parts, at least the parts that you're comfortable sharing. It could be a loved one, it could be a therapist, but really, you know, that can be really important, regardless of whether you found it to be a relief or maybe a challenging exercise. So I'm hoping that it was a relief. I'm hoping that that this was useful for you. That's Ryan's experience. That's definitely the idea of adding bilateral stimulation, is it does tend to help us to process through things. And so I'm hoping that that was your experience, but also feel free to reach out to me if you even just want to talk about your experience at all. I'm at brad@brieftherapyworks.com. And you can also call if you'd like, 206-339-4546. And I would also, like I say, encourage you to connect with people you're already connected with. So your therapist friends. So I just offer myself as kind of a backup, and not charging you for my time or anything. But this is, you know, this is a time where I think we need to really be thinking outside the box. And so for me, I get a lot out of being of use to somebody else, and it's really not about the financial part of it, especially at this time where we all need somebody. I mean, we know how challenging this time is for pretty much all of us. So yeah, so that's what I got, Ryan. I appreciate your participation and letting me share, and it was great.
All right. Yeah, huge honor for me, Brad. Thank you so much. And for tribal members up here in Whatcom County, or wherever you might be, Lummi Behavioral Health, we offer behavioral health services. You can reach us at 360-312-2019 or 24/7 crisis line 360-594-1317. And I'm going to end this up like I always do with some words from Lummi language. Remember the Lummi Project Aware word phrase of the week. Alung Hiluk, happy at home. Shushush Wawuluk, we are survivors of the Great Flood. Lungasat Cha, watch out for everyone in our community. Tiwiel, to pray. Eitchquile, good day. And as always, Yahamist, stay home, stay safe. Langnuk Sensa, I will see you later.